Justice was the spark. Respect your DNA. Justice was the spark. Respect your DNA. Justice was the spark. Respect your DNA.
All right, all right, all right. What it do, y'all? It's your honorable Junes, not a Bantu or with you, but a Bitchute Link kidnap that's ready for the get back. And welcome back to the Redeem or Destroy podcast, where we deal with facts over beliefs and awakening the minds of all the kidnaps worldwide. Round of applause for that. How you guys doing? I had to start this verdict a little late, you know what I'm saying? Was doing a lot of editing, doing a lot of recording, on my social media feed, you know what I'm saying? So it was just all over the place. And on top of that, I had to put the videos together, make sure everything was nice and precise, you know what I'm saying, to give you guys a good show tonight. And tonight's conversation is again exposing the Bible so you guys can understand that the things that you are worshiping has absolutely nothing to do with melanated people. I repeat, has nothing to do with melanated people. And tonight, we're gonna have a good one. You know what I'm saying? Is the only thing I could tell you guys is to stay tuned, get ready. It's gonna be a nice one. It's gonna be a little long. This video I'm gonna play is by no other than the OG himself, R.I.P. Jordan Maxwell. He was one of those individuals that was trying to uncover the facts of what are we as people worshiping and following. And not only is he a credible individual, but he provided and left behind. Hold on, let me turn this down just a little bit. And he left behind all his receipts to every information that you guys need. And, I've been doing my own homework as well. And I got the receipts as far as exposing and showing you guys certain things that's within the book that's to be led astray. So, without further ado, I'm gonna play the video. It's going to be a long one. I got my gavel in my hand, so be prepared for the bang and the banging and the banging. But with that being said, guys, let's proceed. Are you ready? Let's go. Bear with me. My computer is on overdrive right now. Should give me some wine.
Thomas Jefferson made an interesting comment. I think perhaps one of the most profound things I ever heard anyone say. Thomas Jefferson was quoted as saying, "I cringe, I'm in fear when I remember that God is just," meaning that you can think whatever you wish, but the bottom line is that divine.
Real quick, if the volume is too loud, please put it in the comments so I can know, so I know exactly what's going on. and I could take care of it because I was playing with the audio before I got on. So I want to make sure everything is crisp.
Presence in the universe that men have called God is very, very exacting. It has its own agenda. It has its own laws and rules and regulations, and it just really doesn't care what you think or how you view anything. It is the law in the universe. We call it God's law. We talk about the fact that we're told to pray for God's kingdom to come and his will to be done on earth as it is in heaven. What are we talking about? A kingdom in heaven? Most people are totally misunderstanding the implications of those words. Kingdom in heaven goes back to an ancient concept of astrotheology. There is a profound presence in the divine presence in the universe, as I said, that men have called God. But far too many people have misunderstood what this presence of God really represents. And consequently, going back to Thomas Jefferson's quote, I agree. I am in fear when I remember that God is just. Again, let me clarify that statement. The idea being is that God is just, or that divine principle in the universe is empowered to do its own thing. And it doesn't matter, as I said, how you view or what you might think or what your particular belief systems are. It doesn't matter. That divine presence in the universe is going to do its will. So, as one teacher said many years ago, since you can't stop God from doing something and you can't influence him to make him do anything, the smart thing for you to do is just find out what the divine principles of the universe are and go along with it.
So just giving you guys a heads up, he's gonna break down and expose exactly what's being said within the Bible. Um, just a FYI, when I heard this, it's not, I want to say I was blown away, but it was just a validation into the things that I have uncovered within the last 8 to 9 months. So shout out to the OG for that.
Understand, we don't make decisions in our lives. There's a divine presence that overshadows the earth and all life on it. And consequently, when we begin to wonder why is it that God allows this to happen, or why is it that God doesn't step in to do something, there is a more profound presence in the universe that views things differently than the way we do. Unfortunately, our country and the world in general has totally misunderstood divine principles and divine symbols. I have come to have a name around the world for being one who sees symbols and emblems and pattern recognition. And I've done a lot of that. And I have a strong feeling about symbols and the patterns of symbols I'm seeing throughout the world. And if you know how to read the symbols, you can see what's going on here. There is a very powerful occult hidden, and the word occult simply means hidden. There's a very powerful hidden force operating both in the general universe and on the earth also. We call it, for lack of a better term, the will of God. So much of our religious beliefs and systems that we have accepted are, in point of fact, concepts and ideas coming out of the mind of men, and has very little to do with the actual profound presence of the divine laws that govern the universe. And nations have come and gone, kings have come and gone, princes, rulers, bankers, and no one seems to have ever got the point that we're not here to serve ourselves. We're not here to aggrandize ourselves. We're here to learn something, because when we leave here, and we will be doing that rather soon, and when we leave here and we go to this other place, wherever it is that we leave to, we need to be able to know and understand the principles that we have learned about the divine creation. All of this I'm saying to preface the comment that there is a actual, real, and legitimate laws that govern the universe, and it has nothing to do with our spiritual or our religious convictions. It has its own agenda. Unfortunately, the Romans didn't realize, they didn't know. They thought they understood. The Greeks, the Babylonians, Sumerians, the Egyptians.
So he's naming the countries where the Bible was birthed at. Basically, the areas where these people took information to create what you guys call today the Bible. The Bible is not what you guys think it is. It's literally a influx of information taken from numerous of ancient stories put together, compiled, put together, and delivered to the people as a state of control. But I want you to hear him say it and not listening to me. Check this out.
British, all of these great nations have gone under.
My apologies, guys. I'm gonna do a lot less, pausing and just let it play through so you guys can hear what's going on. Okay, my computer.
As slaves because we don't know how the spirit works. But believe me, there is a very powerful spirit at work. Something is going to happen soon. And it has nothing to do with what we're doing. It's going to have to do with the divine presence.
And again, he's using the term spirit. When he says there's something with the spirit that he's talking about is the spirit that's going, that I don't want to say that's going, that has been destroying the melanated people all across the world. Because like I said before, we do not operate in the spirit. We have a soul. There's a difference between the soul and the spirit. Spirit came with religion. Spirit is a spell that's cast upon people to control. Your soul is what connects you to the solar universe, that allows you to be entwined with Mother Nature, that allows you to call on your ancestors, your creators, etc. You have an infinite amount of power when you have control of your soul. This is why religion was forced upon you, melanated people, to remove your soul from the solar universe. So we have been detached. From that detachment, we have been enslaved. Okay? That's how slavery happened. They're not telling you, but I'm here to tell you. Let us go.
And consequently, I wanted to show you how supports particular political movements. My mother once used to say that there's never been a political movement in the world that wasn't a little religious. There's never been a religious movement in the whole earth that wasn't a little political. Politics and religion are actually one and the same thing. Because if you follow the works of Zechariah Sitchin, we find that in the ancient world, the kings represented both the temporal power, the power of government, but they also represented God. And we still are faced with people who believe that their word is God's law. It is absolutely amazing to me to see how many supposedly intelligent, enlightened people are deceived and brought under the influence of people who would present themselves as authorities in the world. Consequently, mankind is not being led, they're being misled. We don't have national leaders, we got misleaders. My friend Dick Gregory, who I love, Dick Gregory always says, the national leaders, you're just getting the government that the people represent. We get the kind of government we deserve. The leaders of this country are big and what we are small. We cheat on a little something here and there. They cheat on nations and kings, but it doesn't matter. Cheating is cheating. Lies are lies. It doesn't matter. But the thing that bothers me more than anything is watching how religions have misrepresented the divine presence, have misrepresented and deceived people into supporting things which is nothing more than political and financial.
Just a FYI, religion and politics are one and the same. You can't have one without the other. Do not let nobody tell you anything different. Religion and politics are all one and the same. Okay? The world is governed over the canon law. The canon law is the biblical law. All right? So I just want to just throw that out there. Let's continue.
Institutions. I mean, my God, where do you think just looking at words and terms should tell you something? The very word church, for instance, is an English word. C-H-U-R-C-H is an English word. Church comes from a Scottish word, kirk.
Kirk.
K-I-R-K. Remember the old hymn, The Kirk of the Valley? Kirk is Scottish for church in English. But Kirk goes back, incidentally, that's why you have Captain Kirk and the good ship Enterprise, Captain Kirk. Go back to Captain Kirk, or Kirk being church in Scottish, is traced back to a goddess in Rome, Circe. And the Roman goddess Circe can be traced back to an even ancient or more ancient goddess, the goddess Circe in Greece. So the lineage is Circe in Greece, becomes Circe in Rome, becomes Kirk in Scotland, becomes church in English.
So again, just throwing that out there. I want you guys to understand that everything goes back to Roman Greek control, from the story of Abraham on to the story of Jesus. Okay? Remember, I come in the volume of the book. Let's continue.
Now, in the ancient Greek world, Circe, Mother Kirk, Mother Church, Mother Circe, look it up in the encyclopedia. Circe was a goddess who was able to hypnotize people, bring them into her house, turn them into animals, and live off of them. And this is precisely
turn them into animals and live off them. What does the Bible promote? You are the lost sheep. I'm not coming for a group. I'm coming for the bride of the church. This is what you guys are unaware of. It's all in plain sight once you decode the story. But in order to decode, you must first remove yourself from the ideology.
what the church has done. It has hypnotized people, taken their nationality away, taken their individual creativity and spirituality away, and brought them into a corporate enterprise, and consequently has turned them into animals. And consequently, today the animals are killing each other.
And that's why you see the chaos in the world. This is why you see people is unaliving people in the name of Allah. People is dropping bombs on children in the name of Yahweh. And then you see what Christianity has done to melanated people through lynching, KKK, slavery, the list goes on. All of this is part of the spell. And it all ties back to the Abrahamic religion. Whether you want to call it the Biblos, whether you want to call it the Quran, or you want to call it the Torah, it all goes back to a control. You are under a spell. This is why your behavior is the way that it is. Let us continue.
All over the world because of church, religion, philosophies. For the Bible, for the Old and New Testament, but I'm also a student of history. And one can read very simply that the Jews were never a monotheistic people, ever. The Hebrew religion
You heard what he said, was never a monotheistic religion. This is why you see the Hebrews, every single organization got their own interpretation on the name of God. That was intentional, okay? It is intentional. You got those that's calling on Yah. You got those that's calling on Yahweh. You got those that's calling on Yahushua. You got those that's calling on Ahia. You got those that's calling on all these names. And it's intentional. Again, you guys don't know what you are worshiping, but we're going to uncover it today.
Religion was a heno, spelled Heno, henotheistic religion.
That's right. What's up, my guy?
The Hebrew people were the worshipers of one God. Absolutely not. When you get into the background of theology and religion, you're going to find, as I have found, that Judaism is a main foundation for Western civilization, and that's why I'm talking about it. Judaism is the most eclectic religion on the face of the earth, in my opinion. I don't think there's another religion or a philosophy on the earth that has collected more from other institutions and from other peoples and amalgamated it into one religion. It's fascinating when you begin to see where these ideas and concepts come.
As you guys heard from the OG himself, that Judaism, or whatever you want to call it, is a religion that took from different sectors of beliefs and created their own. That's what the Council of Nicaea was about. The Council of Nicaea was literally the table with the Jesuit order, and everybody sat down. They took every record and they said, we want to establish our kingdom that was going to be spread all over the world, but we want complete control. So in order to have complete control, they took bits and pieces of every region in the world and created the Biblos. Let us continue.
From in the Bible and in the Old Testament Hebrew. For instance,
My apologies. Computer is it met its match. Ran its course, should I say.
the Moses having the lunar horns. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but Moses in the Vatican has horns. Why? It's because the horns were always referred to as the lunar horns. It was always a symbol for the moon god.
Oh.
Why? Because the moon in its lower quarter is like a horns. And
isn't that like the Baphomet? And don't you find it strange that there's their feast days is always from sundown to sundown? That's intentional. The people that created it created the sundown from sundown, because remember, the sun goes against their genetic makeup. They despise the sun, so they do things from sundown to sundown. Pay attention, people.
consequently, this is why American Indian chiefs all had horns as the chiefs, and the Vikings wore horns. These were lunar worshiping peoples, the American Indians, Vikings, and the Hebrews. The moon god in Arabia, his name, the old Arabian moon god, was called Sin, S-I-N. That was his name, Sin.
Mm-hmm.
And in the ancient Arabic language, a mountain is Ai. So you put the god of the mountain, the old moon god of the mountain. They still have the mountain of the moon in Africa today. But when you put the Sin Ai together, it becomes Sinai. Mount Sinai it's the Sin, the moon god, and his mountain is Ai in Arabic. So Mount Sinai, there's nothing holy about Mount Sinai. It's the worship of the moon god. And consequently, this is why the Jewish holidays are after sundown, because that's when the moon comes out. as opposed to, of course, on Sunday when Christians are worshiping and Sunday.
And the Hebrew Israelites and everybody that's following these philosophies and ideologies would never admit that. They will always say, oh no, they took our records and created their own. Absolutely lies. Lies. It's right here. From sundown to sundown. When we used to keep the Sabbath, it was from sundown to sundown. That's not a coincidence. This is their ideology. But we're going to get deep into it, man. I promise you, this is going to be a phenomenal one today. So stay tuned.
The day of the sun. So consequently, all holy days are after sundown because of Moses was the leader of the moon cult. Mount Sinai, Sin-Ai.
Real quick, when you read Exodus chapter 3, when Moses spoke to the Most High, what time was it? It wasn't during the day. It was during the evening. Again, you guys don't know what y'all worshiping. You don't know what y'all believing in. You are believing in a story given unto you by the Jesuit order. That's it. Let us continue.
Then there's a time in the Hebrew history, in the Old Testament history, where the planet Saturn became the dominant deity for the Jewish people. Saturn, very important. I would suggest that the planet Saturn is the most important subject you're ever going to be introduced to. Saturn plays a profound, significant part in our country today, in the political situation that this country's in. The planet Saturn is profoundly important to understand. He's referred to as the Lord of the Rings. They still make movies about him. Lord of the Rings. Consequently, Saturn was a very important god to the Hebrews and to the Phoenician Canaanites. And the Phoenician Canaanites actually gave birth to a group of people in Northern Europe called the Celtic Druids. Druidism is actually a Phoenician Canaanite theology.
Which is the origin of what? The Jesuit order. Again, you guys don't know what you guys are worshiping. These things are clear as day once you put it in its proper perspective. Let us continue.
It's a Phoenician Canaanite, meaning Druidism in Northern Europe and in Western Europe in general actually can be traced back through Rome, back to Greece, back into what we call today Israel and that area, Druidism. And as I've said before, one of the most important symbols of the Druidic Phoenician Canaanite religion is a magic wand. You know, like Merlin the magician with his magic wand. Magic wands were always made out of the wood of a holly tree. It was made out of Hollywood. And this is exactly why we're still being worked the magic on us out of Hollywood. It is a Druidic, Phoenician Canaanite symbol of actual legitimate magic that's being worked on this country. Consequently, let's get back to the planet Saturn for a moment. Saturn is an extremely important planet symbolically in world religions today. The wars that are going on in the Middle East definitely connected to the planet Saturn. And most people have no idea in the world what's going on. But the people who run this world, they're very well aware of the symbols and what these things mean. Saturn was referred to as I said, the Lord of the Rings. Women were told in ancient Israel to listen to their god, so they wore an ear ring. Men were to get married before their god, so they wore a wedding ring. Consequently, the kings were to get to be crowned before their god Saturn, so they wore the round corona, the ring, Lord of the Rings. Consequently, black was the color associated with the planet Saturn. We have different planets and different colors associated with the different planets coming from the ancient world, but black was the color associated with the planet Saturn. So therefore, all the priests would wear black robes, just as Catholic priests wear black robes, judges wear black robes, rabbis wear black robes. Young people graduating from university and college, they come out wearing a black robe. Black robes. Somebody better go back and do your homework. You know what a black robe represents and why judges wear black robes? And consequently, when you graduate from university, it's a Saturnalian event. Saturn is the great teacher, the inhibitor. Incidentally, Saturn was referred to as the inhibitor, one who holds you back and teaches you a lesson. So he holds you back and inhibits you and inhibits your movement. He arrests your movement. So consequently, the Hebrews said, since he's always inhibiting you, and since we go to temple on Saturn's day, why don't we just do nothing on Saturday? And that's why today there's something called a Sabbath, in which you do nothing from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. Is called Sabbath. But Sabbath is actually based on a Phoenician word, Shabbat. And
So again, Sabbath is on the seventh day. Saturn is the seventh. From the sun to Saturn, it lands on number 7. 7 is, according to the Saturn, is the law, time, and rest. So when I tell you guys that a lot of things that you are worshiping goes back to uh, um, Jesuit worship and idolizing, that has absolutely nothing to do with who you are and this biblical narrative of keeping the commandments. These things are all lies. How many of you guys been keeping the commandments and still the tail and not the head? These were things given unto the masses to control. Everything goes back to control. Oh, yeah. And the seventh day also falls in line with control. He's going to tell you this. Just stay tuned.
Sabbath is based on an old ancient Sumerian word for Saturn. Saturn was
With Shaba.
It's very important if you're worshiping the moon to have your holidays after sundown. Saturn was referred to as El in the old Phoenician language, El. El was the planet Saturn.
Is right.
Today, if you are promoting the worship of Saturn, you're referred to as an elder. How did you get to be an elder? You got elected.
Uh-oh.
How did you get elected, and what comes from being elected? Well, you become now one of the elites.
Uh-oh.
You're one of the elites because you're now elevated in society. Look up these words and these terms. Consequently, you have priests and ministers roaming around with their black robes and talking about how we should support Israel. The ancient Phoenician Canaanite peoples, called the Hyksos, were in Egypt. The Hyksos people were in Egypt. Today we refer to them as the Hebrew people. And at the time of the Hyksos were in Egypt, Isis, I-S-I-S, was a goddess in Egypt. I-S-I-S, Isis. And consequently, one of the pharaohs.
And that's where you guys get the Isis Ra El, right? This is where you get the Amen. This is where you get the story of Jesus, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, the three deities. All of this was taken from, like I said, ancient cultures, and these people in the Council of Nicaea gathered together and took everything and anything that they felt suited to benefit their agenda. Here we are, 2026, and we have yet to get it together. I can't make this stuff up. Listen carefully.
Came along, I think it was Tutankhamun's father, King Pharaoh.
My apologies again, guys.
get the word sun ray, Amun Ra, Amun Ra. So now you have Amen Ra or Amun Ra. Incidentally, this is why Christians say Amen in church, because the sun was called Amen Ray, Amen Ra. And the Egyptians said nobody can talk to God. No one ever has seen God, but you can talk to his son, who will take the message to him. And so therefore, at the end of their prayers in Egypt, they would say Amen, because it was Amun Ray, the God's son, the light of the world, who takes the message to his father.
And again, the Biblos, especially the New Testament, goes back to the Book of the Dead. If you read the Book of the Dead, it goes word for word. You remove the word Jesus and you replace it with Horus, it's the same story. And not only that, guys, you must understand that everything that is written in the New Testament goes back to cosmology, right? The 12 disciples and Christ being the 13th is the 12 months of the year, and him being the actual sun for the seasons. I mean, I don't want to dive too deep into that. A lot of this information you guys aren't, I wouldn't say, you guys are just not there yet. You know what I'm saying? You have yet to deconstruct. Yeah, spiritually, you have not given back the spirit and taken back your soul. So it's hard for me to break all of this down. But just understand, shout out to the OG. He's going to bring it to you a little bit better. Let us continue.
So consequently, we had Isis.
My apologies.
And then we L. If you take the I-S, R-A for Ra, and E-L, it becomes Israel. Israel is Isis, Ra, and El. The three names of the esoteric languages of the world for the sun and for the ancient gods of the ancient world. So when you're going to send your money and give all of your support to Israel, just remember you're supporting a country that is filled. That's why it's called the Holy City. Jerusalem is referred to as the Holy City. Religion that has ever been on the face of the earth has come out of Jerusalem. Moon worship, Saturn worship, sun worship. My God, that whole area is filled with lunacy. It is today the center of world lunacy. And the secret societies and fraternal orders out of England, France, Germany, and America are manipulating the peoples of this world to support something called the reestablishment of Solomon's temple.
And real quick, you see how he just said the secret societies? Guess what? The man that created the Hebrew Israelite movement or ideology, philosophy, whatever you want to call it, was also a part of these fraternities. Okay? William S. Crowdy, just look him up. William S. Crowdy and Frank Cherry are the founding fathers of this Hebrew Israelite ideology in America and all over the world. This is facts. This is not my assumptions. This is facts. Let us continue.
If you understand that Solomon is simply the three words in the city of the sun in Egypt, the Greeks call it Heliopolis, but the Egyptians call the city of the sun On. That's why you flip a light switch on, because On was a city of the sun that brought light into the world. So Sol, Latin, Om, Hindu, On, Egyptian. Put it together, it becomes Solomon On, or Solomon. There was no King Solomon. There was no King David.
Listen.
I even asked a Rabbi Marvin Entelman many years ago. He's probably gone now. But many years ago, he was the president of the American Rabbinical Association. And I asked him, I said, Rabbi Entelman, tell me the truth. Did these people who actually in the Old Testament, did they really live? King Solomon, King David, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, etc. And he said to me, look, it's a religion. The Catholics have got Father, Son, Holy Ghost.
So the brother said Jesus is Lord. No, my brother. Jesus is Lord. Lord Lucifer. Yes. In the book of Revelations, Jesus tells you that he is Lucifer himself. Okay? When you read the book of Job, how did you travel to and fro, up and down on the earth? God asked the devil, Lucifer, whatever you want to call him, you not doing your homework. You're running into this ideology that was forced down your throat, pause, and you want to use it and act like Jesus. Jesus is never going to do nothing for you. You're not going to be saved. He's not coming to redeem you. He's not coming to heal you. You probably got family members that done passed on, made a transition, and was fully devoted in Jesus, and in the name of Jesus had no powers to heal them. So yeah, continue screaming he's Lord and see where he takes you. Straight to the pits of hell.
The Hindus have Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. The Egyptians have Osiris, Holy Spirit. It's always a triune. David, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob has put it together. It becomes Solomon or Solomon. There was no King Solomon. There was no King David. I even asked a Rabbi Marvin Entelman many years ago. He's probably gone now. But many years ago, he was the president of the American Rabbinical Association. And I asked him, I said, Rabbi Entelman, tell me the truth. Did these people who actually in the Old Testament, did they really live? King Solomon, King David, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, etc. And he said to me, look, it's a religion. The Catholics have got Father, Son, Holy Ghost. The Hindus have Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. The Egyptians have Osiris, Isis, Horus. No, we're Jews. We got to have something too. I mean, it's just a religion, but we got to have something. So it's a triune God. It's always Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Osiris, Isis, Horus. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. It's always a triune God. So they came up with an idea of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. There was no Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob. It's just a play on terms and symbols and words. And when you talk to the rabbis and confront them, they'll say, yeah, that's true. It's just a religious teaching. I mean, but, you know, was there Osiris, Isis, Horus? No, it's symbolism. Well, so is the rest of the religions of the world. Always just symbolism. You would be surprised at how much the planet Saturn plays in world politics. Again, when kids graduate from university, incidentally, the word graduate comes from two words, gradually indoctrinate. So consequently, when you graduate, you come out with a square martyr board. The square martyr board, what is a martyr board? It's a board, it's a metal square with a handle so that you put cement on it when you're building with bricks. And it's called a martyr board.
Which goes back to what, guys? Freemasonry. Freemasonry. The bricklayers. I mean, come on, people. I can't make this stuff up. I can't make this stuff up. But you guys know this, man. Shout out to the big bro, man. Shout out to him, man.
Wearing the martyr board when you graduate from university. The martyr board is a symbol of masonry. This is why you go to college to get a degree. Consequently, you need to understand that all universities and colleges in the Western world operate under the Vatican. All universities and colleges. So if you want to save your money to send your kids to college, just remember you're sending them to a Jesuit, Catholic, dominated ancient Roman Empire.
Did he just say Jesuit? Did he just say Jesuit? You still don't believe and understand what's going on here. Did he just say Jesuit? Of course that's what he said. Of course.
System whereby your children are to gradually be indoctrinated into a system of religion, politics, and theology. So what you need to understand is that there is a symbols, that there's a whole symbolic world in which we live. And if you don't understand the symbols and the words and terms, you're never going to figure out how this stuff works. But none of this has anything to do with God or with the divine. Incidentally, God is merely the word dog spelled backwards. This is why churches have dogma. You need to remember that dogma, or God, spelled backwards is dog. Why? It goes back to Anubis in Egypt. Anubis was the dog, the god. Many of you remember seeing the dog in Egypt. That's Anubis. Sirius. The Hebrews were very big on the worship of Cyrus, or Osiris, which is where we get the word Osiris, from the star system of Sirius. This is where we get our word sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. From Sirius. Osiris. All of this I'm saying to bring you to a point where you can understand that religion and theology, for the most part in this world, are based on political and ancient secret societies and fraternal orders. And they are manipulating the entire human race today and laughing behind everyone's back. And consequently, I have watched this over the years. I've worked.
You heard what he said? He said they're manipulating the minds and laughing behind the people's back. When they see you on these street corners, marching up and down, professing this madness, calling this, calling it that, demonizing those, arguing amongst each other, they sit back and they laugh because they know that you're under their Cersei control. This is why they want you to refer to your children as kids, because you are Goyim. All of us. Now, even Europeans is starting to see that they was Goyim and that they was just pawns on the chessboard. And now they're pissed off, but it's already too late. It's too late because we spent generations upholding and believing an ideology that has nothing to do with us.
On television programs, of CBS, I've worked on kinds of programs for these.
I'm going to reset it. Don't worry, guys.
Fraternal orders. And they are manipulating the entire human race today and laughing behind everyone's back. And consequently, I have watched this over the years. I've worked on television programs of CBS. I've worked on kinds of programs for these, with these religious institutions. And I am amazed at how much people just don't know about how government really works. Let me give you an example. And symbols and words and how they're used. Why do you have to go to court? And, everybody's scared to death because you got to go to court. You go to court because you play basketball on a court. You play tennis on a court. How do you play tennis on a court? You play with a racket. Why? Because the whole thing is a racket. They're using these terms purposely. It simply is using words. It's not by chance. So therefore, you're in court. Well, the whole idea of the court is to put the ball back in the other guy's court. So this team picks up and they throw the ball over there. That team picks up and throws the ball back in the other guy's court. So it's a game going from one court to the other. And the idea is to see who wins, right? And the judge is wearing a black robe. He represents Saturn, the inhibitor, the law, the God's law. Incidentally, look at a law dictionary. Look up the word fas, F-A-S. Fas is a word in Latin for God's law, F-A-S, fas. Look it up in a dictionary. You will see that fascism is the law of God. What God? The Roman Caesar's God. Fascism, Marxism, Leninism, Nazism, totalitarianism. They consider themselves God's inhibitors. They are the ones who own the earth. God's law, fascism. Going back to the court, where the judge wears a black robe. Why? Well, because he represents, like the judge represents, like the priest, like the rabbi, he represents the planet Saturn, the inhibitor. He sits on a bench. He rules from the bench. The word bench in Latin means bank. A bench is bank in Latin. And consequently, where do you find a bank? You find banks on both sides of a river. They're called river banks. And what does a river bank do? It directs the flow of the current sea. Consequently, this is why the juice coming out of the wall is called a circuit court. It's a whole thing has to do with Saturn, the god called El, who gets El elected, who puts you as one of the elites. You are now an elder. And why? Because now you have the juice. It's called electricity. Electricity is the juice that makes things work. The circuit court, the whole entire concept in government and religion and churches is the flow. Go with the flow of the symbols and the emblems. I am of the opinion that one day, somewhere along the line, this country is going to wake up and find out that it has been suckered into a new world order, which is directly traceable to the secret societies that were invented by the Jesuit order of the Catholic Church. I am totally convinced that what
See what I'm telling you? Everything goes back to the Jesuit order. There's a website, I think it's p2.org or p2.com, if I'm not mistaken. It's literally a website with the propagandas of everything that you guys have witnessed now and also in the future. You guys really believe in this Hollywood story, bro. I'm telling you guys, what you guys are waiting for or believe, whether it's UFOs or the second coming, these things are not going to ever happen, bro. Please, I beg you, I need you guys to understand that. Our strength comes in numbers. When we put down the hatred for self and also each other, when we step up and start holding ourselves accountable, when we start being honest, when we start loving our women, when we start loving our children, when we denounce this Abrahamic religion, when we start doing the necessary things to elevate us, that's when the conversation will be easy to have when it's pertaining to us gaining back our freedom. Okay? I want you guys to understand that. There's no second coming. To the brother, there's no UFOs coming. All of that is lies on top of lies. Okay?
we call the New World Order is a Jesuit Catholic work. Along the line, this country is going to wake up and find out that it has been suckered into a new world order, which is directly traceable to the secret societies that were invented by the Jesuit order of the Catholic Church. I am totally convinced that what we call the New World Order is a Jesuit Catholic work. It has always operated. Keep in mind that the Catholic Church, and I was born Catholic. My mother died a Catholic. My family is all Catholic. So I'm not complaining or talking about the Catholic people. I'm talking about a corporation, an ancient empire. Rome has dominated Europe for 1,600 years. Rome dominated Europe. Europe has dominated the world.
So to brother Brandon S412. again. Now, the spirit is why you are in the mental capacity that you're in. It's because they gave you a spirit of Lucifer. They gave you a spirit that they control. And once you accept it, whether it's through baptism or just complete obedience, you are now subject to their control. So if they put something on TV or they give you something within the book, you're gonna grasp it and you're gonna take it as it being the word of God. The Biblos, aka the Bible, is not the word of God. It is man's written creation. If you was really tapped into God or Jesus, Jesus will be speaking to you directly. He has never spoken to you, not once, not twice. You got family members who done passed away following Jesus, did everything that Jesus required them to do, but yet Jesus was unable to heal them. You was unable to heal them based on what Jesus said that you will have if you believe in him.
And the Pope dominates Rome. So consequently,
My brother, I used to be a part of the Hebrew Israelite ideology. Trust me, bro. I know everything that I'm talking about. You, on the other hand, you're based in what you're telling me of beliefs. You're not standing on no facts. Everything that you're saying in First, Second Corinthians, Third Corinthians, Ninth Corinthians, you cannot prove it. You can't prove it with absolutely nothing whatsoever. Science, ideology, archaeologically, you can't prove nothing. You're basically bringing forth your belief. You're not giving forth facts. Okay, don't judge the book by its cover. Okay, I've broken out of the matrix, my brother. If you need help to break out of it too, we can have a conversation.
Jesuit Catholic work. It has always operated. I am of the opinion that one day, somewhere along the line, this country is going to wake up and find out that it has been suckered into a new world order, which is directly traceable to the secret societies that were invented by the Jesuit order of the Catholic Church. I am totally convinced that what we call the New World Order is a Jesuit Catholic work.
Who created
It
it?
has always operated. Keep in mind that the Catholic Church, and I was born Catholic. My mother died a Catholic. My family is all Catholic. So I'm not complaining about talking about the Catholic people. I'm talking about a corporation, an ancient empire. Rome has dominated Europe for 1,600 years. Rome dominated Europe. Europe has dominated the world, and the Pope dominates Rome. So consequently, the Holy Father has dominated for 16.
Oh, and for the brother Brandon who says I'm not spiritually inclined, do you know who was the first pope? I bet you didn't know. I'll tell you who the first pope is. The very first pope was Paul, the writer of the New Testament. Don't you ever ask yourself, how is Paul, a man that never walked with Jesus not one time? In fact, he was executing people who was practicing the ways of Jesus, has more writings than the actual people that was there with him. You don't find that suspicious? I'll tell you why. Because Paul is the founder of what you call the Pauline teachings, and that's what the Pope bases studies off. Again, you don't know what you're worshiping. You telling me I'm not in the spirit. I desire not to be in no spirit. I am a man that has a soul. My soul overrides your spirit. Your spirit comes with religion. I am not subject or tied down or in bondage to no spirit. I am a man who's in control of his soul. Okay? Let us continue.
100 years, bloodshed, violence, anarchy, all of the most.
Listen carefully. All right, Brandon, listen to what he says.
And I was born Catholic. My mother died a Catholic. My family is all Catholic. So I'm not complaining or talking about the Catholic people. I'm talking about a corporation, an ancient empire. Rome has dominated Europe for 1,600 years. Rome dominated Europe. Europe has dominated the world, and the Pope dominates Rome. So consequently, the Holy Father has dominated for 1,600 years bloodshed, violence, anarchy. All of the most atrocious acts of inhumanity have been committed by the Roman Church as far back as the 4th, 5th, and 6th century.
And wasn't Paul part of the Roman church? Wasn't he in Rome, writing to the people in Rome, writing into Corinthians? Corinthians was in Rome. And look what came along with that. This is the same man that unalived Stephen. Remember Stephen? Remember Stephen because he was following Jesus? I know you know that. I know you know that, Brandon. Oh, you thought I didn't know about that, right? Looks can be deceiving, huh? I know. Let's continue.
We know that the escapades of the popes, many of them were homosexuals, most of them were murderers. They were all offsprings of bankers. The entire Vatican system was a banking system. Today's Uniform Commercial Codes based on the old Vatican canon law. So once you understand, the church, government, politics are all interconnected, and the secret societies have been manipulating them all from day one. And I am of the opinion that there's never going to be a change in this country until people find out that there's a world of difference between being religious and being spiritual.
That's you, Brandon. That's a shot for you, my brother. I hope you're not offended. Being a man of God, you can't be a wuss. You gotta be a warrior. You understand? Let us continue.
And I believe that once you understand that the universe, that there are laws governing the universe, and once we get in tune with that, you're going to find out that God is still in control. We are not, but God is. Somebody a long time ago said, always trust a person looking for truth. Don't ever trust the one who's found it. Consequently, I don't present myself as a world's foremost authority on anything. I'm just an ordinary man pursuing extraordinary knowledge. I don't know who God is, but I know what it isn't. And I know that once you understand how the celestial bodies in our solar system affect us and affect each other, you'd be surprised how much the planets around in our solar system affect us. Are you aware of the fact, for instance, that the sun is pulled 4 degrees, according to the science, 4 degrees out of orbit toward the planet Jupiter? I learned that at an observatory once. The sun is pulled by the planet Jupiter 4 degrees out of orbit. So wherever Jupiter happens to be, the sun moves toward it 4 degrees. And if Jupiter's over here, the sun will move toward it 4 degrees. Why? It's because the electromagnetic force field, gravitational force field of Jupiter is so profoundly strong that it can even pull the sun toward it. Consequently, the ancient Romans said that Jupiter was the protector of our earth. He protects us. And in point of fact, that's true. Because we're being told all the time by so-called scientists that, we're waiting for a comet to hit the earth and a great meteor or something hitting the earth. When anyone who's got 500 brain cells and has done any research on the subject knows that the gravitational force field of Jupiter is so strong that anything coming into our solar system is going to be sucked right into Jupiter. So most of the big comets or anything that would hit the Earth are never going to hit us because they're going to be hitting Jupiter to start with.
And just wanted to land back on what Brother Maxwell was saying. So when you hear the meteor landed in America or landed in Africa or Israel, you know the when the sky was dropping fire from the skies, all of that is lies, bro. All of it is lies. There's absolutely nothing that fell down. There was no Nephilim. All of these things is lies, bro. Okay? These niggas are literally creating it. Like, even right now, I have the documentations that can prove that dinosaurs was not real. It's not. I got the documentations to prove it. It's not. All of it is a lie. All of it. All of it. The Nephilim, all that bullshit, man. All that is lies, bro. Lies.
Incidentally, very interesting. The very word Jew in the ancient has got 500 brain cells and has done any research on the subject knows that the gravitational force field of Jupiter is so strong that anything coming into our solar system is going to be sucked right into Jupiter. So most of the big comets or anything that would hit the Earth are never going to hit us because they're going to be hitting Jupiter to start with. Incidentally, very interesting. The very word Jew in the ancient or in the King's Old English, if you go back to the Oxford Dictionary of the English language and look up the word J-E-W, it will tell you that in the King's Old English, J-E-W was spelled, Jew was spelled I-U. And incidentally, pater. This is another interesting word, pater, P-A-T-E-R. Pater is an old Phoenician name for our word for God or for Father, for the Father God, Pater. Ayu, and Jew, and Pater, Father God. You put the two together, it becomes Ayu Pater, Ayu Pater. And I's and J's are interchangeables. So you can make it J-U Pater or Jupater. And this is where the word Jupiter comes from the combining of different words in the ancient languages. Again, what I'm saying here is that we need to understand, and that's an interesting word, understand. Anytime you're going to say, put a heavy weight up on the second floor, say you're going to be doing some construction and you're going to be putting a lot of weight on the second floor, you need to go downstairs and go up through the ceiling and check on the rafters and see what kind of foundation you're going to put that weight on to see if it's going to hold it. So consequently, you are.
So to Brandon, I see that you're going to continue bringing forth European ideology. Okay. So you follow Christ, not religion. Guess what? Christ is the face of religion. Okay. Religion is what you call real religion. Okay. Remember, Christ has the keys to the heaven and hell, and he went down into the hell. And when the legions seen him, they noticed him. And what did they call him? They call him Lord. Okay, because Jesus is Lucifer. He tells you that in the book of Revelations. Now, if you don't know where in the book of Revelations where Jesus called himself Lucifer, let me know and I will direct you to that precept. Okay?
Standing under the thing you're studying. You're standing under. Anytime you're going to say, put a heavy weight up on the second floor, say you're going to be doing some construction and you're going to be putting a lot of weight on the second floor, you need to go downstairs and go up through the ceiling and check on the rafters and see what kind of foundation you're going to put that weight on to see if it's going to hold it. So consequently, you are standing under the thing you're studying. You're standing under to get understanding. This is where the word comes from. You need to stand under the foundation of a subject to figure out what you're doing here. And consequently, so many people do not know how to stand under a subject. You need to take hours of research to find out where these words come from, where these systems arrive at, what do these words mean.
And Brandon, that's something that you should be doing. Instead of professing and giving me all of these biblical quotes and scriptures and anything leading to the Biblos, the barbaric book, you should look up the words and study everything that you are following, and hopefully it will wake you up into the realization into what's really going on in the world. I'll be right back, guys.
And then you find out the word capital, for instance. The word capital is a Latin word in Rome for money. So if you don't have the capital, you can't do anything. Capital is money, or the word for money. Let me give you, now a lot of people understand the UCC process. Let me just give you a basic concept if you don't know. There are two basic kinds of law in the world, the law of the land and law of water. People live on land. So consequently, the law of the land is the law of the people who live on the land. That's what's called the law of the land. Well, the law of the land is different in every country. You can do things in Africa you can't do in Russia. I mean, you can do things in China you can't do here. Why? Because of the law of the land. People live on the land. But then there's something called the law of water. The law of water is called maritime admiralty. It's the law of water is the law of money. So when people say money goes through your hands like water, no, money is water. Under international maritime law is the law of water or money. Banks, they direct the flow of the currency. So consequently, when you understand how products that come in on a ship, I mean, the captain of a ship, captain of an airship, captain of a rocket ship, sailing ship, it doesn't matter. A captain is a captain. And captains occupy the same position as high priests, like the Pope. You don't think so? Mess around with on the ship and see if the captain doesn't have absolute sovereign power on the sea. Consequently, there's a law of banking called the law of the water, the law of the sea. And this is why when you sign documents in blue, that's a commercial signatures in blue. Why? Because the sea is blue. This is why the Navy has an admiral, navy blue. All of these words are connected to an ancient system coming out of what we call ancient Israel or Phoenicia Cana. You've heard the name and you've heard the word Cana, Canaanites. The word Cana is a Phoenician word for banker or merchant banker. Consequently, merchant is like mermaid. Merchant is someone who is actually using the water to make money, a merchant. That's why the Bible even talks about the merchants who make their great wealth on the seas of the world. Again, Uniform Commercial Code, Maritime Admiralty Law, directly connected to the Vatican Canon Law, directly connected to the old Phoenician Canaanite Maritime Admiralty Law. All of this stuff is being administered by secret societies and fraternal orders around the world, manipulating the whole human race. And virtually nobody has figured out how this stuff is watching for the past.
Shout out to Katrina. Thank you. Thank you for understanding exactly what's going on. Thank you for understanding that this is bigger than what these people have displayed for the world to see. Thank you for understanding that, I'm based on what you're saying, I assume that you know that religion and the Biblos and the Quran was literally given unto the masses for world control over the people. Okay? I appreciate that, like for real. I really do. Because I know what I'm saying is like literally GED work. I'm not even going hard. I'm just basically letting brothers and sisters understand what's really going on. You understand? Like, I can't make this stuff up. This is bigger than what people think it is. This is the reason why we are in these circumstances. This is the reason why we have yet to elevate. This is the reason why you too afraid to stand up to the establishment. Is because you are under a hypnosis. You are under their spiritual control, right? They need you in the spirit, right? The spirit of Allah, the spirit of Jesus, the spirit of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They need you in the spirit. They need you to never tap into your soul, because if your soul and yourself are one again, you instantly go back to controlling of the solar universe. Okay? Remember in the stories when they needed it to rain? Yes, you know why they was able to make it rain was because they was still in control of their soul. Religion, especially through slavery, has removed the soul of the people. And even the food that they make you eat is to destroy your soul. That's why they call it soul food, because our soul food is watermelons, grapes, seeded grapes, berries, strawberries, whatever. These were the things that was soothing for our soul. They told you soul food, which is fried chicken, which is slave food that does what? Destroy your soul. Okay? Please let us continue.
6 to 7 months, something going on that I am personally involved in.
Oh yeah, listen, you sis, you probably just now coming into the live, but we was playing a whole lot of things. Speaking of Jupiter, etc.
When they come after you for whatever reason, court to the old Phoenician Canaanite maritime admiralty law, all of this stuff is being administered by secret societies and fraternal orders around the world, manipulating the whole human race. On a ship, I mean,
The fruits and the vegetables heal your soul. It's nutrition to fuel your soul. Why is the fruits and the vegetables so important to your body? Because the fruits and the vegetables come from the soil, which is connected to your soul, which is in line with the solar universe. But y'all don't hear me though. Let us continue.
captain of a ship, captain of an airship, captain of a rocket ship, sailing ship, it doesn't matter. A captain is a captain. And captains occupy the same position as high priests, like the Pope. You don't think so? Mess around with on the ship and see if the captain doesn't have absolute sovereign power on the sea. Consequently, there's a law of banking called the law of the water, the law of the sea. And this is why when you sign documents in blue, that's a commercial signatures in blue. Why? Because the sea is blue. This is why the Navy has an admiral, Navy blue. All of these words are connected to an ancient system coming out of what we call ancient Israel or Phoenicia Cana. You've heard the name and you've heard the word Cana, Canaanites. The word Cana is a Phoenician word for banker or merchant banker. Consequently, merchant is like mermaid. Merchant is someone who is actually using the water to make money, a merchant. That's why the Bible even talks about the merchants who make their great wealth on the seas of the world. Again, Uniform Commercial Code, Maritime Admiralty Law, directly connected to the Vatican Canon Law, directly connected to the old Phoenician Canaanite Maritime Admiralty Law. All of this stuff is being administered by secret societies and fraternal orders around the world, manipulating the whole human race. And virtually nobody has figured out how this stuff works. But let me tell you, it does work. Once you understand how the words and what the words mean, and how, when you go into a court, if you're smart, you don't even have to go into a court.
And just a FYI, you see how he's using the terms, words, etc. You know, some of you guys know and some that don't know, but the English language is a warlock language. It's not a bastard tongue. It's a demonic language, okay? It's literally a spell language. That's why certain terms and ideologies we're forbidden to use, because it casts spells on people, okay? For example, we know that the term bless, right? Bless means be less. You understand? Or when you say things like good morning, your morning, right? Is you're basically saying I'm good morning. Like I'm mad. Like morning is just what it is. Mourning is a state of grief. Okay, it's a state of sadness. This is why a lot of you guys wake up in the morning very upset, very sad, very down, very depressed. All of these things is tied with the words and what we are saying. We are calling our children kids. This is why today's children are behaving the way that they do, because you're calling them kids, which means that you're telling the universe that these are animals. So when you see them crash out or lash out and have no control, is because of the kid energy that we're displaying. Okay. And it goes deep, guys. It goes deep, but you guys don't want to listen because a lot of you guys are still under the spiritual control, which comes with religion. Religion was created to control. The real Lee John, okay? When you indoctrinate yourself, right? When you initiate yourself, right? This is what baptism is about. This is what communion is about. This is what unleavened bread, Passover. These are initiations that you participate in, that you submit yourself to, right? And when you submit yourself to that, then you are under their Jesuit control. That's why your ideology is the way that it is. Okay? And yes, I say grand rising too.
I am not the world's foremost authority on this. Tonight, maritime admiralty law, all of this stuff is being administered by secret societies and fraternal orders around the world, manipulating the whole human race. And virtually nobody has figured out how this stuff works. But let me tell you, it does work. Once you understand how the words and what the words mean, and how, when you go into a court, if you're smart, you don't even have to go into a court. I am not the world's foremost authority on this subject, but I have been watching for the past 6 to 7 months something going on that I am personally involved in. And I have been watching what's happening with this situation. And I have discovered, it has been told to me and explained to me, that when government comes after you, state, county, city, especially federal and big government, when they come after you for whatever reason, there are 4 things that you can do. 2 of them are very bad and 2 of them are good. The 4 things you can do, the first 2 are bad. The first thing you don't want to do is hire an attorney and fight the case. If you hire an attorney and fight the case, what you have done is you are dishonoring their charge. And that's why, like you said, when you plug something into the wall, you're going to get a charge. And so they're going to bring you into court to charge you. But if you hire an attorney, you have lost already. The moment you hire an attorney, you've lost because it implies you're going to fight the charges. And once you fight the charges, you are now under their jurisdiction. You have now entered a fight. You've walked into the ring, and now you're going to be a part of the fight. And you've already lost.
Listen carefully.
The second thing that you don't want to do is ignore the charge. Whatever they send you in paperwork, they're going to do this or that, and they're charging you with this or that. You don't want to ignore it. You want to answer it. But you don't want to hire an attorney to fight it because you've lost when you do. The two things that you do need to do, or you need to know about, is you accept what they're saying that they're charging you with. You accept it, and it's called a conditional acceptance. And I'm not the authority on this. I've just found this out within the last couple of months. And I don't have all of the details on it, but it is very important that you need to understand. And I've got the experts who have been looking at this and who have been working with this, and it's working. When you accept whatever the government says you've done on the condition, you can turn around and use that acceptance and with your what is called a exemption under the Uniform Commercial Code. And consequently, you can accept whatever they're charging you with and pay it off with your UCC exemption. I don't know how all of this works, but I've been watching it happening, and I understand that it is working. And so I've got some videos from the people who have given lectures on this subject of how government and courts really work. So I'm going to make that available pretty soon so that you can study it for yourself. I just think it's a very interesting the way courts and governments actually work. Without taking too much more of your time, I'm going to do a few slides because I wanted to get back to the point of how symbols work, what these terms and symbols mean, and show you how we are being misled and deceived by accepting certain political and religious concepts. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's absolutely outrageous that the human family should bow down on its knees to man-made religions and man-made governments, when in point of fact, God has not asked you to bow down.
Again, these are all man-made religions. And for those that's going to say, oh, I don't follow religion, I follow Christ. Christ is a man-made creation. Christ was created in the Council of Nicaea when they said we want to create our own God that's going to be as powerful as Horus, and he's going to be the face of all religion, no matter what it is. Islam goes back to Christ. Judaism goes back to Christ. Catholic is the foundation under Christ. You understand what I'm saying to you? All of it is tied to an Abrahamic religion. Abrahamic religion goes back to the Syrian people. Oh, excuse me, I take that back. It goes back to the Hindu gods. Okay? That's where the name Abram comes from. They created Abraham so they can have a separation. But when you do your homework, you will find out that not only are they not separate, it is literally the exact same thing. Same story, same everything. There's literally nothing different other than the changings of the names and the letters. That's it. And all of that is intentional. Because again, you guys don't know what you are worshiping. Let us continue.
Anything, or be under anything, or be under any government.
Run that back.
And show you how we are being misled and deceived by accepting certain political and religious concepts. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's absolutely outrageous that the human family should bow down on its knees to man-made religions and man-made governments, when in point of fact, God has not asked you to bow down to anything, or be under anything, or be under any government. I I don't consider myself subject to any man, any government at all, period. I believe that the God that created us, or the ones who have created us, have given us the earth to live on, and we are not to be under, or cowardly be under any domination by anyone. Yet I abhor the idea of somebody telling me that the authorities, the very word authority is abhorrent to me. Where do you come off of being an authority? My God is my authority. I don't need your authority. The word authority comes from the word author. You haven't authored anything. Your scribbling comes from your scribes who scribble scripture and who scribble scripts. This is why in Hollywood you have script writers. Script writers are writing scripts. They're called scribblers who scribble scripts. Think about Hollywood. Think about how this stuff works.
And you're reading scripture. King James got the best writers to do what? Give you guys a Hollywood script. And the number one thing that he made sure that they interjected in those scriptures is the justification of your enslavement. This is where you get Deuteronomy chapter 28, etc. Okay? Deuteronomy is literally a copy and paste of the book of Exodus. They just added laws and regulations, and last but not least, justifications for your enslavement. Let us continue.
You got people with big money who intend to manipulate and exploit you. I don't need your authority. The word authority comes from the word author. You haven't authored anything. Your scribbling comes from your scribes who scribble scripture and who scribble scripts. This is why in Hollywood you have script writers. Script writers are writing scripts. They're called scribblers who scribble scripts. Think about Hollywood. Think about how this stuff works. You've got people with big money who intend to manipulate and exploit you. They hire people to act like humans. They're not real humans. They just look like humans, and they are scripted. They are told exactly what to say and how to say it, just like a president has his speech writers. So they give you a speech. They give you something to say, and then they're going to put you on film and have a director to make sure you say it just the right way. So they have a director, they have the lights, and they have you say what they want you to say the way they want you to say it, so that it looks like you're actually human, and it looks like you actually care. And it's a very emotional scene. Of course, after the lights go off and they say, cut, he's back to his boyfriend and smoking his dope and whatever else they're doing, and they couldn't care less about the human family. As far as they're concerned, we are all cattle, chattel property. Nothing but to be entertained. So consequently, once you see how Hollywood puts together motion pictures, television, and it is a world of illusion, lies, deception, most of the people in Hollywood know that. There was a man named Stanley Kubrick who produced and directed his last movie called Eyes Wide Shut. The movie Eyes Wide Shut, I think, from what indications I've received out of Hollywood, he died because of that film. I think he was assassinated because of that film, and I think he knew that his days were cut short. You need to get the movie, rent it and watch it, Eyes Wide Shut by Stanley Kubrick. Because in the movie, he shows how very sophisticated, wealthy, intelligent elites actually live, what their secret societies. But on the surface, they are very important looking people. They have nice suits and they look good on television. And behind the scenes, they're murderous. And that's what the movie was called, Eyes Wide Shut, because that's exactly what America is doing, is looking at these politicians and religious leaders with their eyes wide shut. Political leaders, religious leaders, all the same thing. We need to start thinking in terms of your own personal spirituality, your divine presence with God, just you and that divine presence in the universe. and nothing should come in between that. No church, no government, no synagogue. Incidentally, the word synagogue, in America, we spell it S-Y-N-A, synagogue. But if you go to Egypt, it's not spelled that way. In Egypt, it's S-I-N-A-G-O-G. Synagogue. Again, going back to the moon god Sin. Why do you have a church? The building itself is called a nave. This is why we have a United States Navy. It has to do with maritime admiralty law and the church. Europe is filled with lies, deception, and I think perhaps it's a toss-up for me, it's a toss-up as to what is the most disgusting.
I guess you're talking about the Arabic with Islam, because Islam promised people 14,000 slaves, if I'm not mistaken. If that's what you're saying, just put a thumbs up, or put a number 1 in the chat, and it'll let me know that we on the same page. Let's continue.
Human institution on the face of the earth. It's either the British royalty or the Vatican. I think the Vatican wins because I have seen it's incredible what the Vatican has involved itself in for 1,600 years and what the British royalty are all about. You've heard about David Icke, probably. David Icke I brought here to America back in 1994. David Icke is famous for his talking about the reptilians and the reptilian presence in mankind. There's a guy named Lloyd Pye, and Lloyd Pye is a very brilliant guy. He's a very good friend of mine, but he talks about how the human body was created and how it actually works. And in his presentation, and this is true, he shows how inside the human brain, the 2 lobes of your brain, if you open the lobes up, there's a smaller brain inside, and scientists call that, doctors call that, the reptilian principle or something like that. And the word is reptilian. And I'm thinking, why would the doctors and why would medical science use that term for that little lobe, that little brain between the 2 lobes of the brain? Reptilia. It would not surprise me if our ancestry goes back into the ancient world. Michael Cremo is a brilliant guy who has been working for many years trying to show people that artifacts that have been found on the earth, artifacts that are at least 4 billion years old. They're finding things in South Africa, way, way down, thousands of feet down, carvings of little steel ball bearing kind of things, and they've got chiseling marks around them. All of them are identical, and it's found in strata so far down, they are saying it's at least 4 billion years old, the strata. So somebody was here messing around with these little ball bearings 4 billion years ago. I am of the opinion that this human race that we're a part of is of extremely ancient creation. It's been around for millions and millions of years. When we see in Israel today, I have so many things I'd like to talk with you about, but especially when we see in Israel today the archaeologists, these paid lackeys of the system that get their grant from the government to go out and dig in the sand and make themselves look important. And they're down there, and they dig down about 6 or 8 feet, and they found some little pottery, and there's a big thing on TV, and that's an archaeologist. No, my feeling is, off the coast of England in the North Sea, when they're drilling for oil, the oil drills go down, all the way down to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, and then they start cutting into the ocean floor to go all the way down to the oil on the North Shore off the coast of England. 1,000 feet down under the Atlantic Ocean, they're bringing up, because they're sucking up the material inside this thing that's cutting, this round pole that's cutting into the earth, the stuff that's coming up through it. They're finding artifacts, human-made artifacts, or someone-made artifacts 1,000 feet under the Atlantic Ocean are artifacts. Somebody better do their homework and
And one thing I'll tell you for certain, two things for sure, what they're not fighting is these so-called chariots and all of this foolish nonsense that they told you took place in the Nile River. All of these things is lies. All of it, man. I don't even know how to express that all of this is a lie. I know a lot of you guys believe in the Jesus and think that Jesus is coming and he's gonna change the world and he's gonna restore order. None of that is going to happen. None of it. I promise you, none of it's going to happen. Some of you guys even know it's not going to happen. Some of you guys live your life in doubt. But the reason why you don't step away is because you are afraid to take on the battle of the legions that come through religion. Okay? But let us continue.
Looking at this because it just don't fit with the Bible unless we're misreading the scripture.
Hit the like button. Hit the like button. That's all I ask. Hit the like.
Looking at the material inside this thing that's cutting, this round pole that's cutting into the earth, the stuff that's coming up through it. They're finding artifacts, human-made artifacts, or someone-made artifacts 1,000 feet under the Atlantic Ocean are artifacts. Somebody better do their homework and start looking at this because it just don't fit with the Bible unless we're misreading the scriptures. And if you go back to Genesis 1:1, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's not what it says in the original Hebrew. It doesn't say that. And then Genesis 1, well, what it does say, Genesis 1:1, is in the beginning, the gods, Elohim, the gods, more than one, plural. The gods created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1:2, it says, and the earth was without form and void. No, it doesn't say that in Hebrew. The word is tohu vohu. And the words are in Hebrew tohu vohu, which means instead of reading it, the earth became a waste. No, the earth was without form and void. Tohu vohu is the earth became a waste and a desolation. Was not without form and void, but became a waste and a desolation. And in all the Hebrew Bibles, you see it. And in the Jewish reference works, you see it. Genesis 1:2 is misstated in the King James Bible. So I'm saying between Genesis 1:1, when the gods, in the plural, created the heavens and the earth, and Genesis 1:2 could be hundreds of millions of years. And as called, and many of the scholars in the field of biblical archaeology know that there's a world of difference between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2. The human family could be millions of years old. I am totally convinced for my own self, that we are the product of a higher intelligence in the universe. I don't think that for 1 minute that we just evolved here. The evolution makes no common sense to anyone who thinks very deeply on it. I mean, what was one eye doing while the other eye was evolving? How come everything is...
Yeah, I have the Book of Wisdom, and I know about Darius J. Wright. Shout out to him. Yeah, trust me, man. Pale White Horse, William Cooper. Yeah, the two religions. Yeah, like I said, man, this thing is deeper than what people think. You know what I'm saying? And like again, I'm just showing you guys just the surface. You get what I'm saying? Because a lot of you guys see this and get very emotional. Not saying you, my brother. I'm just saying, just in general, people get very emotional when you show flaws in their beliefs, when you show them without a shadow of a doubt that these things is man created. A lot of people get very, 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 very emotional. So I gotta literally give it in lame's terms. You feel me? Like, in lame's terms. And even John Todd. You get what I'm saying? Like there's so much things that's out there, man. When you read it, you'll be shocked to find out exactly what's going on, man. You know, the Illuminati book, the Illuminati 1, the Illuminati 2s, a lot of these things expose these ideologies. I have a man that was with the Jesuit order. He passed on. This book, he made this book around, I think it was the late 70s, early 80s, and he died in like the 90s. Like, you know, I don't know if they took him out, but he basically was just laying out everything that the Jesuits was doing, was coming forth. I even got a book. I even got a book, guys, that tells you what really happened in 1942. And let me just say this. Everything that you was told wasn't true. I'll leave it as that.
Balance. Fish have two eyes, just like all other.
My apologies. I'm overworking my Mac. I gotta get a new Mac. That's the birthday gift.
Are the product of a higher intelligence in the universe. I don't think that for 1 minute that we just evolved here. The evolution makes no common sense to anyone who thinks very deeply on it. I mean, what was one eye doing while the other eye was evolving? How come everything is balanced? I mean, fish have two eyes, just like all other animals have two.
And the evolution story is a lie. You understand? And I know why they created that story, just like I know why they gave you the dinosaur story. Oh, y'all thought dinosaurs was real. Y'all highly mistaken. Just like I know why they gave y'all the biblical stories. Okay? Now, again, like I said, this is too much for y'all. If you really want to know what's going on, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, follow me on Rumble. Rumble, you can speak freely without no contradictions and penalties. Okay? YouTube, you have to be mindful on the things that I say. You understand? But the evolution story is completely bogus.
Of the whole entire earth reeks of disease. Product of a higher intelligence in the universe. I don't think that for 1 minute that we just evolved here. The evolution makes no common sense to anyone who thinks very deeply on it. I mean, what was one eye doing while the other eye was evolving? How come everything is balanced? I mean, fish have two eyes, just like all other animals have two eyes. Of the whole entire earth reeks of design. Somebody has been designing something for a long time. And once you begin to see how the human history, ancient history, is telling us something about who is in charge here, I believe that there is, in point of fact, right now on the earth, for a lack of a better term to describe it, extraterrestrial life forms. I'm totally convinced that they're here. I am totally convinced, too, for myself, that these extraterrestrial life forms are the exact same thing that the King James Bible is talking about when it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Elohim. Elohim is not God. El is God in the old Phoenician language, and Elohim is like putting an S on the end of a word. We have C-A-R or C-A-R-S, making it plural. Well, in the old Phoenician or Hebrew language, El is God, but Elohim is plural. And so consequently, in the beginning, Elohim, or the gods, created the heavens and the earth. And then later on in Genesis 1:2, it says, and the gods said, come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. What do you mean, come, let us? Was God talking to himself? Consequently, you begin to see how there's a lot hidden in the Old Testament that they haven't told you about yet. But the ancient rabbis knew it, and they talked about the presence of the gods here on earth, whoever they are. And I believe that this is exactly what we are facing today. We are told in the Bible that if you remember Abraham, the story is a metaphor. The story is a symbolic story telling you something. But 3 men come walking up into the camp, and Abraham saw the 3 men and went out to talk to them and had them sit down and have something to eat with him. That's in Genesis 8.
And in the New Testament, it was 3 wise men that came to bring gifts to Jesus, who was God's chosen, just like Abraham was God's chosen. I mean, come on, people. Oh my jeez, I can't make this shit up. So.
And then we find
Yeah, my B-day is next month, the 12th of February.
Out later, the 3 men were actually God and his 2 accompanying angels. Go back and read this in Genesis. So if you're going to accept the Bible, you need to go back and read Genesis, where God sat down and had dinner with Abraham and his 2 angels. So the 3 of them look like men. I'm saying that the Hebrew or the ancient Jewish tradition says that their gods look like us. They have created us in their image. And there's a very good possibility that that's exactly the case, that we are an experiment of a higher race that has come here from another place, and we are actually connected to the stars. And we didn't even know it. We thought we just evolved here. No, nothing this complex as a human with a human brain and the human creature evolved anywhere. Somebody designed us. Obviously, even Christian people refer to it as God. God created us. I don't care how you view it. We didn't just get here by chance, and somebody else is in control, and you need to understand that whoever that one was or whoever they are in control and not us. I'm also of the opinion that many of the political leaders, like David Icke, who talks about the reptilians, I believe that that it would not surprise me, I should say, that if we find out that political leaders are not actually human at all, that they very well might be the Elohim that the Bible talked about, who look like us. We're made in their image and likeness, but they're not like us. They don't care a damn about human life. They don't care about anything human. They're here to do one thing, and that is what they're good at, and that's to control the creature. So I'm thinking that it's about time we start waking up and taking back our own spirituality and getting in tune with the universe. When we're talking about the political situation in this country, I am amazed at how many people have not done their homework and see the overwhelming and obvious implications of things which are happening in this country. Too many people have allowed Hollywood, the scriptwriters, the managers of civilization to manipulate our thinking. I think that the human creature is very, very powerful. I think that we are a very powerful creation. Our brains and our minds are extremely powerful. And once you get in tune and concentrate and get in tune with your own spirituality, and no longer concerned about whoever does anything on the outside world and the political arena, and get in tune with your own God force inside of you, that is extremely challenging to the people who would control you. Because they know that if you ever got into your own center and you understood the laws in the universe and you lived by them, that gives you a lot of power and a lot of protection.
Yes, sir.
I would suggest that you want to, anyone who's interested in this subject which I brought up before, astrotheology. I believe that astrotheology is what we're talking about when we talk about the kingdom of heaven. I'm totally convinced that astrotheology is a concept that is wrapped up in the New Testament, that's in the Old Testament, but especially in the New Testament. And we're missing something if we don't see it. There's a whole world of knowledge that's locked into the New Testament That's why the Bible has Jesus saying, many will look with their eyes, but not see. They will listen with their ears, but not hear, and with the heart not get the sense of it. And I think that's exactly what's going on here today. We're looking at something in the Bible and misunderstanding, misrepresenting. Anyone who can watch television, watch a Christian TV today, cannot see that this is nothing more than a corporate money show, and needs to understand that our spirituality is at stake now and our country is at stake. Our country was based on individual spiritual creativity and freedom. That's a concept that's been lost now. And the whole idea, and there's a word you need to look up. You need to look up the word new man. The word is Newman, new man. Like Paul Newman. Many of the Jewish people have different interesting names, like new man. That's a very important term. You need to do some research on it. Adolf Hitler talked about the new man. The Communist Party talks about the new man. Mussolini talked about the new man. Totalitarian dictatorships all talk about something called the new man. And it's always in quote. Go on the web and put in quote, new man, end quote, and see what comes up. All of the totalitarian dictatorships talk about something which they're working toward called the new man. And this new man, Adolf Hitler explained it better than anyone, in my opinion. He said this new man is going to be a race of people on the earth who have lost all identity with the old ways of caring about people, love and family, etc. And they are going to be totally robots in our hands. Not going to have anything to do with the old order of living the way we have lived before. The new man is going to be one who has no connections with God, spirituality, or nothing else. He's merely an automatron. He's automated word control. And this is what we are today, word control. So I'm saying that while these people are trying to bring about something called a new man, I think that what they're getting ready to do is they're beginning slowly but surely to crush human spirituality, crush out of existence human freedom, and bring about a civilization that's based on fear and the law and obeying the powers that be. And somewhere along the line, I think that the spirit, the one we call God, the spirit, is going to do something on this earth, and that's going to be horrendous. Because somewhere along the line, Rome fell. Adolf Hitler could go as far as he could go and went no further, and he fell. I believe that the powers that be in this country are slowly but surely putting themselves into a position where the divine presence is going to do something very serious. This country is going to pay a terrible price for what we have allowed to happen. And the people...
And you guys can really see that going on right now. For example, here in New York City, we in the middle of January, and it was just a few days ago, it was like, what, 55 degrees? And then earlier today, it was snowing, but it wasn't cold, where you can tell that these individuals are trying to manipulate the weather, but it's backfiring, right? Like the earth is getting hot, the water, these ice glaciers that they talk about is melting. A lot of things is going on, and a lot of this is because of the wickedness that has taken place. Like, for melanated people like myself, one of the reasons why we have yet to rebel and yet to, you know, fight for not just our independence, but our position on this earth, a lot of it is due because of this Abrahamic religion. Because again, I keep telling you guys that once you are in the spirit, right, you are no longer in control of your body. Right? Even in the songs that they sing, people say that my body is yours. Like, I give myself away for you. is worthy. I give myself. Like we already in that state of mind where we giving ourselves up to the system, to the Jesuit order. And because we have given ourselves away, is the reason why we are in these circumstances right now as we speak. You get what I'm saying? Like everything starts off with the other side before it gets to the physical side. You feel me? But that's neither here nor there. Like I said, too much information for the average mind. I'm just glad you guys are still tuning in, watching. All I ask is for you guys to do is just hit the like button, smash it, so this can continue going through the algorithm and we can build and bring in more and more subscribers, followers like Katrina, who just pulled in, and I hope she's still here. You know what I'm saying? Getting this phenomenal barbecue chicken because we eating out here. You heard? My job is to feed you that food to set your mind and your soul free. You feel me? Let us continue.
Are going to pay. And when you look around at the people who are going to pay, just remember this
Drinking coconut water, by the way.
is going to do something on this earth, and that's going to be horrendous. Because somewhere along the line, Rome fell. Adolf Hitler could go as far as he could go and went no further, and he fell. I believe that the powers that be in this country are slowly but surely putting themselves into a position where the divine presence is going to do something very serious. This country is going to pay a terrible price for what we have allowed to happen. And the people are going to pay. And when you look around at the people who are going to pay, just remember this is the way it was in the Roman Empire. It was in all the other ancient empires. It doesn't matter. God is not one to be mocked. What you sow, you reap. There will come a day when this country is going to pay the price for what it has allowed to become and what the people have allowed themselves to become. So I think in conclusion, I would say that your need to become spiritually in tune with the rest of civilization, with the universe, is very important. And I think the way to do this is to quietly, and this is the way I have done it, and I've seen it work over and over, is quietly talk to the spirit that is around you continually, this God force which is around you. Somehow or another it hears you, and somehow or another it deals with you. And consequently, I would suggest you talk to it, ask it to protect you, to help you, to open up your eyes, to see what you need to say, to why you're here, where you're going. You'd be surprised what that kind of thing will do. It's a very powerful force that's around you. That's called the God force. There are many, many different words.
See, that's his terminology, and I'm not gonna knock, his belief. But for the melanated people, you need to tap into your ancestors. Okay? Your ancestors then lead to the fallen deities, which I'm using for educational reasonings, like the Oguns and the Oshays. Oguns, Oshays then tap into Ulamari, Odimo, Mawari. You know what I'm saying? Those are the supreme beings that's governed and is one with your with your heritage and your ancestors. Now, for the brothers and sisters that's in, the Americas, like the Tahinos and the Arawaks, I don't remember the names of the gods that they called on per se. I have it stored somewhere in my phone and my archives as well. But these are the deities you gotta call on, right? These deities is what was called on when the Haitians and the Tahinos was one and they got back their freedom. Okay? It has nothing to do with Jesus. Jesus has no strength, no power. If you're thinking that I'm lying, tell me one person have you healed following Jesus. Exactly. So there's no power in that name. The reason why there's no power in that name because that name was created by the Jesuit order. Okay? You guys don't want to believe it, but that's not for me to make you believe. You'll see in due time. If you're watching this, then you understand exactly what's going on. Obviously, you know what I'm saying is triggering something where the goal is to gather all this intel and start seeking your indigenous or African spirituality, aka soul. Okay? Let us continue.
Can be used for it. I call it the spirit. I'm suggesting that. And consequently, I would suggest you talk to it, ask it to protect you, to help you, to open up your eyes, to see what you need to say, to why you're here, where you're going. You'd be surprised what that kind of thing will do. It's a very powerful force that's around you. That's called the God force. And many, many different words can be used for it. I call it the spirit. I'm suggesting that what we need to do is become more spiritual and get totally away from this whole manipulation of the human family, this new man that they're planning on having. Because somewhere along the line, I think this whole thing is going to collapse. And when it does, it's going to be a time when we have to depend on our connection with the spirit to protect us. I see this coming very soon. If you have any questions.
You talk about secret societies. How does the Order of the Skull and Bones connect with the Crown Templar? Could you give us a little background, maybe?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the Gestapo in Nazi Germany, their symbol was a skull and bones. Skull and bones is a Nazi arrangement. The Nazis, even Adolf Hitler talked about skull and bones. But Bitchute Link and Lincoln, in their book about 15 years ago, that was a New York bestseller. You really need to get that book, and you can still buy it today in bookstores, called Holy Blood, Holy Grail. Holy Blood, Holy Grail talked about skull and bones, but not like the Skull and Bones Society that the president belongs to, but the real skull and bones symbol. It goes back to the Knights Templar, Masonic Order, skull and bones. This is why on the Jolly Roger, the flag that the pirates used to have in the Caribbean, Pirates of the Caribbean, Holy Blood. In fact, the Gestapo in Nazi Germany, their symbol was a skull and bones. Skull and bones is a Nazi arrangement. The Nazis, even Adolf Hitler talked about skull and bones. But Bitchute Link and Lincoln, in their book about 15 years ago, that was a New York bestseller. You really need to get that book, and you can still buy it today in bookstores, called Holy Blood, Holy Grail. Holy Blood, Holy Grail talked about skull and bones, but not like the Skull and Bones Society that the president belongs to, but the real skull and bones symbol. It goes back to the Knights Templar, Masonic Order, skull and bones. This is why on the Jolly Roger, the flag that the pirates used to have in the Caribbean, Pirates of the Caribbean, their flag was always a black flag because it was represented toxic, deadly. It was black flag. And on the black flag was a skull and crossbones. Skull and bones on the pirate flags represented the Knights Templars. The Knights Templars in the 9th and 10th century set up in Europe what we call today international banking. So the international bankers today in Switzerland, that's why the Pope has a Swiss guard. In Rome, the Pope has something called a Swiss guard. The Swiss guard represents the Knights Templars guarding the boss of Rome, the Holy Father, Knights Templars, international banking. That's why Switzerland is the home of the Knights Templar. And even the Swiss flag has the red cross on a white background. Incidentally, if you fly over, and I've got beautiful pictures in color of this, if you fly over the Vatican and look down on the Vatican, you will see, for the first time, it's very obvious, the British flag. It's called the Union Jack flag. It's a crisscross, which is the up and down cross, which is called the Cross of St. George. And behind it is a crisscross called the Cross of St. Andrew. You put the two crosses together, crisscross and the straight cross, and it becomes a double cross. And that's why the British have been double crossing people for years. That's where the word comes from. We've been double crossed. Double cross goes back to British banking fraternities, the Knights Templars, double crossing the whole world. Switzerland, very interesting place. Switzerland has the Knights Templar cross. That's why today you have organizations called the American Red Cross, Wake Up Red Cross. It's a Cross of St. George. It's a Masonic Knights Templar organization that operates behind enemy lines. And you say, oh, well, the Red Cross can go behind enemy lines. Of course the Red Cross can go behind enemy lines. They are the enemy. They're financing the enemy. They're financing both sides. That's why it's called the Red Cross, the Cross of St. George, which is the Swiss national symbol in Switzerland for the banks.
And even when you see the ships, Christopher Columbus, it also has the cross, right? When you see these religious organizations, they have the cross. They'll have a symbol that's resemble the cross. The cross was stolen from the Egyptian Anak symbol. Okay, they took everything that was out of Egypt, everything that was in Samaria, everything that was in Syria, everything that was in India, everything that was in China, and they compiled it together and created the Bible. That's why it has 66 books, because all those books is from different variations of religion, down to the Anunnakis, to the story, the Epic of Gilgamesh. The list goes on. You know what I'm saying? When you start doing your homework and you say to yourself, I want to know, how did we get in these circumstances? It doesn't matter if you black, doesn't matter if you white, doesn't matter if you Chinese, but the condition and the state that the world is in, you have to ask yourself, how did we get here? Right? And from that ideology, your brain is going to frequently is gonna force you to get off the frequency, excuse me. And once you break out of that frequency, you're then going to put yourself in a path that is literally a path of no return, because you're going to start to see and uncover a lot of things, bro, that didn't make sense, but it's making sense now. And when you remove the European, aka religious ideology, from the circumference of your brain, you now won't hold yourself in a state of condemnation, because you're gonna be like, well, damn, that does sound kind of evil and wicked and sinister. Our people should not be doing this, should not be doing that. And that philosophy, ideology, came strictly from the Jesuit order. Facts. You understand? So I just wanted to just throw that out there. My apologies, guys. It's almost over. We got like 5 more minutes, and I'm gonna take a few questions, and then we're gonna ghost out of here.
Banks in Switzerland. I'm saying you need to understand how this stuff works. Knights Templar organization that operates behind enemy lines. And you say, oh, well, the Red Cross can go behind enemy lines. Of course the Red Cross can go behind enemy lines. They are the enemy. They're financing the enemy. They're financing both sides. That's why it's called the Red Cross, the Cross of St. George, which is the Swiss national symbol in Switzerland for the banks in Switzerland. I'm saying you need to understand how this stuff works. Skull and crossbones is very obviously a Nazi German ancient symbol, and then the Holy Blood, Holy Grail, they go into the old ancient stuff that the skull and crossbones connected to. Holy Blood, Holy Grail. Yes.
You mentioned the constellation Sirius. There's another constellation, Orion, and ordinarily I wouldn't know this, but I have known a Subaru car, a little Japanese car, and I was reading, I believe there's 7 stars in the constellation Orion. And when you look at a Subaru, I found out Subaru is a Japanese word for Orion. And if you look at the hood ornament on a Subaru, it has the 7 little stars on it tied together. And I was wondering what the significance of Orion is. You mentioned of Sirius.
There's even a motion picture company called Orion Pictures.
Yes.
Orion is very important in the Jewish system. And the Jewish system of mysticism, the Pleiades, Orion, especially Sirius, all of these are very important to mystical Judaism. And as a whole, I got the reference works on that, but I would suggest just go on the web and put in quotes. And anytime you go on the web to do any research, make sure you put quotes around the word you're looking for. If you put in Orion is one thing, but if you put quote, Orion, end quote, then it will go directly to where that word is used the way you're looking for it. So always put quotes around whatever it is you're looking for on the internet. Orion, very important. Go on the web because there's a lot of material on Jewish mysticism connected to Orion. That's why it's Orion Pictures.
I had one other one. You mentioned the word mir, which there's a song, La Mir. Does that mean the sea?
Yeah.
You mentioned merchant. And is merchants.
Mir,
So
chance.
M-E-R is sea is S-E-A.
Mir is a Phoenician Canaanite word. Incidentally, keep this in mind. When you hear the term Hebrew, the word Hebrew, or Hebrew language, you say, well, so-and-so means this in Hebrew, or means that in Hebrew, or in Hebrew it says this or that. When you hear that term Hebrew, understand there is no such a thing as a Hebrew language. What we call the Hebrew language is a Phoenician Canaanite language which is spoken by Hebrews. It's like in America, we speak American. No, we speak English. We are Americans, but we don't speak American, we speak English. English comes from England, not America. So the Americans speak English, but we don't speak American. The same thing, Hebrews don't speak Hebrew, they speak Phoenician Canaanite. It's the Phoenician language, which we call, for lack of a better term, Hebrew. So there is no such a thing as a Hebrew language. As a matter of fact, if you go to the Jewish encyclopedias and look up Hebrew language, it traces it back to Phoenicia, to Canaanite language, Phoenician language. And I said, well, it was very obvious what's going on here. There is no Hebrew language. And so much of I could have gone on talking about the ancient Hebrew religion, Zoroastrianism. Probably one of the most important influences on Judaism in the world today is Zoroastrianism. And Zoroastrianism comes from Iraq. Iraq is the home of Zoroastrianism, and Zoroastrianism dominates Judaism. Almost all the teachings in Judaism come from Zoroastrianism in Iraq. I think it's awful interesting that today Iraq is now being plundered under. I wonder why. All of the teachings in Judaism can be traced back to Iraq. That's very interesting in my opinion. Yes.
Within the New World Order movement, there's something called the New Age movement also.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They talk about the age of Aquarius, the dawning of a new age.
Yeah.
Do you know when has the age of Aquarius started, or when that's going to start? And if there is there any connection to the end of the Mayan calendar, which ends in the
2012,
2011, December the 23rd? Because the Mayan calendar,
you're right.
Their legends also speak about the dawning also of a new age. Is there a connection there also?
Yes. Adolf Hitler was very much involved with the dawning of a new age.
So we are in the age of Aquarius. Okay, in 2026, we have transitioned into the age of Aquarius. This is why you're seeing uh, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of prodigies, a lot of individuals like myself who comes from a so-called street background are now being the wise ones, the educators, the spiritual guiders. You understand? These are here for a reason, and it's crazy that my B day is the day of Aquarius. You know what I'm saying? Like I am a Aquarius according to what they told us. It's not a coincidence. You understand? And because of that, the ancestors is bringing, bringing the bodies to me, just like I'm bringing myself to you guys. And the objective is to build, not just critique, because I'm over the critiquing of the biblos. I just feel compelled to continue remind brothers and sisters that this ideology has nothing to do with us, that our spirituality literally comes with the divine order of the universe, okay? The solar universe connected to your soul. When you transition, you go back into the soil. The food that's nourishing from your soul is the stuff that's come from the soil. You get what I'm saying? Anything that is man-made, from the food to the books to the curriculums, is detrimental to the body of all humanity. And they know that. You understand? Not only do they know that, but they practice what they preach. They don't eat what we eat. They don't breathe in the air that we breathe. Nothing where these people dwell, there's absolutely nothing but sunshine over there. I want you guys to understand that. And we almost done.
This is a very profound subject that I've been dealing.
As a matter of fact, we done, guys. Because he just asking questions, and these questions you can ask me and I give you the answer. Now that we here, is there any questions that you guys would like to ask me before I depart from this? Put this back up. Hold on. Let me put this back up. Need this right here. All right. Is there any questions, you guys? The time is now for you guys to ask your questions before I gracefully bow out. Okay? Again, this is to let you guys know that you do not know what you're worshiping. What you are following is literally the Jesuit order. It has nothing to do with you and the divine order of the universe. It is all about control. It's all about you accepting the conditions that you are in, being content with it. Again, all of that is intentional. Okay? And you got to get it together. So, for those, I see there's no more questions. All right, cool. So, please like, comment, share, subscribe, hype this video, share this video. Follow me on all social media platforms, TikTok, IG. The links are in the bio. You can just tune in, or you can see I said the thumbnail, the ticker running down. I don't know, maybe you could pause, and jot it down and pull through and follow your boy. You know what I'm saying? This is the first of many, guys. We got so much things to talk about. We got so much things to discuss, and we're going to discuss it. It's only a matter of time. You understand? I got a lot of things in the works. The next one is going to expose the Sabbath day, Shout out to, the OG, but he didn't give the in-depth understanding of the Sabbath day, the origin, where it came from. So my job is to do that for y'all. Then we're gonna do well, tomorrow I got a funeral to go to, but I'm gonna take a nap. I'm gonna go to sleep early. As soon as I finish this, I'm gonna eat something. Then I'm gonna go to sleep, and then I'm gonna wake up, and then I'm gonna do a live. I'm gonna do a recording actually that will be ready by tonight, and you guys can get it for Monday. I know I've been slacking my um with my podcasting during the week. And a lot of it has to do with, recording it and not liking the outcome. And then, the whole setup and processing it all over again. That shit be tiring. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'll be like, y'all, man. You know what I'm saying? But I do be recording it. I do be having it saved in the archives. Maybe one day I'll just let it loose, but I'm a perfectionist. We in the brand new Babylonian New Year. I want to perfect this podcast. I want to perfect these presentations, give you guys understanding, so you guys will not think that I'm crazy and I'm losing my mind. You know what I'm saying? But I want to give you guys an opportunity to be great, not within yourself, but just overall. And last but not least, the life coach on the go, right? We're me and the Wiz, we're making a transition. You know what I'm saying? We're changing a lot of things around. So please just bear with me. But in the meantime, if you do want some level of consulting, you do want a level of conversation, you have to pay the the consultation fee. That's nothing crazy. You know what I'm saying? $150. You pay for that. You will have me for as long as you need. You know what I'm saying? I'm on that type of time. Grab it while I'm available, because once this ball gets rolling, there's you're not going to be able to reach me. You're going to reach maybe my son and my daughters. They're in the line of business of what I'm doing, so you will reach them. But if you want to reach me, I advise you guys to put in your orders request from now. You know what I'm saying? Click the link in the bio, follow me on social media, and just be on alert, because we're coming out fire this year. I got interviews lined up. Shout out to the people that I'm going to interview. One of the people I'm going to interview is the man that did the documentary for the Alabama Brawl. Yeah, so once we get this brother into the studio, we're going to really, like I said, we're going to really turn up this year. All I ask for you guys is to continue to support. All right. So with that being said, man, it's your brother, man, from the motherland, came to you guys live. Like, comment, share, subscribe. For those that don't know who I am him, Junes, the Honorable Junes, not a Bantu or a Jew, but a El Kebulan kidnap that's ready for the get back. And remember, you must always respect your DNA, okay? And keep it G'd up from the feed up. Ain't no need to roll the weed up, because we already high off life, and that is the ultimate price. Are you dumb or are you dumb? And I'ma holler at y'all. One.